Okay, good morning. Happy New Year. For the record, I'm Chris Young, Chair of the HDC Sign Advisory Committee. We'll confirm access. Please respond with an aye when I call your name. Ben Norman.
Aye.
Kevin Kuster.
Aye.
Paul Wolf.
Aye.
Martin Gatone.
Aye.
And for staff, we have Nikki Sheriff.
Here.
This open meeting of the SAC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. That order allows public bodies to convene remotely so long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recording, and we're being broadcast via the town's YouTube channel. Actually, will be available on the YouTube channel. The meeting will feature public comment. Materials provided to members for the meeting or during the meeting are available on the town's website. I'll introduce agenda topics and speakers. Please remember to mute your Zoom audio until your name is called, and direct comments and questions through the chair to avoid crosstalk and make taking of minutes easier. Votes will be conducted by roll call. With that said, we'll move on to the meeting. We'll call it to order at 9:03 a.m. on January 7th, 2025. We need a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Kevin. Are you in favor?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Thanks. Ben?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
Great, thank you. And we do not have minutes to approve at this time. Is that right, Nikki? You're muted.
The 10:29 minutes, I sent it along with my last email.
Oh, okay. Correct, got it. Did everybody have a chance to review the 10:29 minutes?
Sure.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, so we have Kevin, are you in favor of approving those?
I'm gonna abstain. I was missing.
Okay. Ben?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to public comments. I don't see anybody on the line except for our applicant. So I'm assuming no public comments. Commissioner comments. Anybody have anything they'd like to
Chris?
bring up? Yes, Paul.
I would like to have a conversation at the end of this meeting regarding the proliferation of many freestanding signs all over town by every organization.
Okay, so we can discuss that. We have, it's not on the agenda. It can certainly be discussed under enforcement though, because they're not approved signage. So why don't we bring that up in the enforcement section?
Yeah.
Any other commissioner comments? No. Let's move on to new business. We have sign here on the line to talk about 0 Main Street.
Yes.
Okay. Bring us up to speed on this application.
Sure. So there's going to be a new business on the upstairs building of 0 Main called Northeast Advisors. They're a real estate business, and they're looking to put a sign on the building face. They're looking for a 10-inch by 48-inch sign. And it's going to go right in between. So the top is accessed through that door by, is it Commerce? Right on that top door, like the top part of the building is accessed through that door. And then they're looking to have the sign in the middle of those two hanging signs. There's a picture further down, but, so I'm not, this looks like, the only spot for them. I'm not sure, but this is what we're thinking. The building face itself is about 20 inches. So the sign we're looking at is 10 inches. So that picture there is a little bit skewed representation, but yeah, so that's what we're looking at.
Okay, so just to understand what you said there, the actual flat fascia is 20 inches tall, you think, not including the crown molding?
Based on the shingle heights and such.
Okay. Okay, and for material, you're planning on wood And it's painted
Carved
and
and
carved.
painted.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Let's open it up to the members for discussion. We'll go Ben, Kevin, Mark, Paul. Ben.
So before I even look at the style of, or the content of the sign, I'm really, not, supportive of the location. I think it's confusing and just sort of doesn't direct people to the door. I think it's very confusing. So, before, sticking to location, I think, that needs to be rethought. And if that changes the design of the sign, it may, but I'm not going to be in support of that location for this sign.
I think, Kevin, you might have brought up a question of whether there was a master sign plan for this building. And Nikki.
Hi, yeah, it was Paul.
Oh, Paul, sorry.
I searched, I could not find anything in the database. I also pulled the file, I didn't see anything. There's master sign plans for their other properties like NIR, but nothing for this particular location. So that could be something, they could look into.
Yeah, so for the applicant's benefit, the master sign plan concept came up as buildings became divided into multi-tenant uses. And it was a way of trying to address what Ben just brought up, which is that there are appropriate locations for signage. And how do we identify those so that each future applicant knows that it's been thought through and, where the signs have been deemed appropriate so that we don't keep getting new concepts with every tenant that takes over a space. So this is an ideal candidate. We would need to get a master sign plan put together as part of this approval so that this tenant and future tenants are aware of where the signage for that particular space is located in the building. So to Ben's point, let's talk through this as if it's a master sign plan discussion and where is the most appropriate place for a sign to go. So Ben, you're not in favor of that location. We'll just continue around the table. Kevin, Mark, and then Paul. Kevin, any thoughts?
I would agree with Ben. I think the guidelines are pretty clear that a sign should be located at or near the entrance. I do believe we approved a previous sign in a location here that was near the door. I can't think of the name of the business. But this location is problematic, and I also think that the design of the sign is really not very respectable of Main Street. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Okay, Mark.
I agree with the comments with respect to location. I think there have been businesses located on the second floor, and traditionally their signage has been located tangent to the entry. Cooper Shepherd was the real estate office that occupied a space on the second floor for many years, had a sign located possibly above that display left boxed image left of the door, or maybe just left of the door or somewhere in there. But I think that's a much better, more clear location for the tenant signage in this case. And I think that'll impact design. I do find the signage design to be generic, might not be the right word, but I feel like it could feel a little bit more akin to Nantucket and specifically Main Street. The palette is fine, but I think we'll see what comes back to us with the potentially relocated signage. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Thank you. If I were the Chamber of Commerce, I'd be very unhappy with the current proposed sign. The Chamber of Commerce happens to be up at the top of the stairs to the left, and this tenant is going to the right at the top of the stairs. It seems to me that the only, aside from the master sign plan that doesn't exist, could you stop right there? That picture by the door? Yeah. Right. I don't know what's in that box to the left of the door. But I think that's appropriate location for something that's on the second floor. The chamber's got a projecting sign near the door. This applicant could have a similar one on the other post to the left of the door or something where that box is. But anything over the middle where they are, which has nothing to do with their location, I would not be in favor of.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Nikki, when you were looking at the file for this project, did you happen to see the Cooper Shepherd application and subsequent approval? I believe Mark's right. I think it was above those.
I
So-
don't quite remember, but I can check again for when they
Okay.
come back with like a revision, or they could come in.
Yeah,
Okay,
if I
so-
could make a comment, it was
Yes.
above it was above the, to the right of the door, above those two plaques there, the green sign that was there before.
Right. So and that was probably applied for before the concept of master sign plans was formalized and made to a requirement for multi-tenant buildings. So in essence, it would seem that is the approved space and probably where not speaking for the board, but probably the most approvable location that we would come to find for that location. So did you address that with your clients? Is it something that that you could rework a design and come back to us with showing that location? It would also sort of play off the Cape Cod 5, how they have their wall sign next to the door as well. So for a lot of reasons, it seems appropriate.
Yep.
Okay. Now, also to give you some direction, just to go back around, a few board members talked about design content or perhaps the scaling of the words. Kevin, do you want to address any of that so that they can have some direction on what it is that you're thinking with respect to that?
I think that it other than the word northeast, there's not a whole lot of reference to like historical type fonts or anything that reflects any kind of a past historic approach. I think that Mark's comment was probably the most accurate. It just feels generic. It feels like it could be anywhere. I think that the logo device is not helping. It makes it feel even more contemporary and out of place. I don't know for sure really if the real estate and rentals and all that is appropriate or not. Historically, it would just be a very simple name of the building, usually gold on black on Main Street. I think there's a lot of other ways to look around to do this, and this feels like a lost opportunity. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, Mark, do you want to add any thoughts that we could give there for advice?
Specific to the design, Chris?
Yeah, I'm just thinking so that we don't, have another meeting and then start talking about design.
Yeah, no, I think what's been said is accurate. I think the palette's probably fine. I just think there could be a little bit more of a creative approach in terms of the design itself. And I think if this ends up being a wall sign and it's vertical in orientation, we're going to see some changes. Maybe softening it up through more traditional font type would actually help in this application. I clearly recognize that block lettering and non-serif font is typical and common throughout the downtown core, but here maybe because of the location, but also I think it might help just soften that sign up a little bit, and, make it more fitting to this location. If those are probably my comments if they're helpful at all, but we'll see what comes back.
Okay, Ben, do you want to?
No, I have nothing to really add. I'm looking at that kind of modern take on a compass rose, and it's sort of a little too modern for my taste, but I think what's been said is, the font is gonna help this a lot, so.
Okay,
Changing the
Uh,
font is.
gotcha, Paul.
No, I can't really add anything except if we do a new location, the size will be have to be changed as well. It can't be 48 inches wide, so I'll go along with whatever else has been said.
Okay, and I think that to refer back to the sign book, serif fonts are encouraged. So, and there are ways to add serifs to this that I think would not take away from the message that's being presented. So hopefully that's something that you and your clients can work out. Logos are permissible with a 15% maximum use of the sign space. So, in this case, it looks like that logo is less than 15% of the sign space. Just in your redesign, if you're thinking about incorporating that logo, keep that in mind, that it should be no more than 15% of the sign space. Do you have any questions for us?
Nope, makes sense.
Okay.
Motion to hold for revisions in a master sign plan.
Okay, so just to clarify that, the master sign plan, sign here, if you would submit a second application with the, I assume you've gotten the signature of NIR on this application.
That's correct.
We would just, yeah, so we would just want them to sign off as well that you're we're formalizing this master sign plan for the building. At the same time, we're reviewing this specific sign for the location that we would approve in the master sign plan. So it does ask for a second application, just master sign plan, photograph of these existing signs saying there are, 4 signs.
Here, just to recognize, there are, and this is fine, but there are 1, 2, I think we're maybe 6 to 8 tenants in this building. We would need to make sure the signage is documented for each. This goes all the way around.
Oh, this goes around.
Blue Beetle. I think you've got the jewelry store on the other side. Don't we have then 2 additional Faraday and Danelle, I think, on the corner as well. So there's 2 retail. I think there's 2 retail shops, both far left and far right, plus what you have in the core of the structure.
And David Buckley's got his law office on.
Yeah, that's
side.
correct. There's quite a bit on here.
I could have sworn I've seen a master sign plan for the building at some point.
I was going to say, how is it all approved without a master sign plan yet? And
Well, it's possible that each got approved independently. That's not uncommon, especially in buildings that are a little easier to sign. We with new construction, we often request the master sign plan, or if we have signage, multiple signages being added to a structure that hasn't been there historically, that will often trigger a master sign plan as well. This one historically hasn't been as challenging. I think this is the first time we've had a real discussion about location of signage on this building, and particularly that second floor tenant. So that there is, obviously I would check the file. I think that's what the chair was about to say, and maybe there is one in there. I just don't recall. If not, personally, I'm less concerned about the master sign plan because I think all the sign has been well established, but it will memorialize all those locations as approved into one approval. So I suppose it does clean up this going forward in terms of sign locations. It would eliminate the whole discussion we're having today in some respects. So
yeah, well said, Mark. One thing I'm curious about, because as Ben pointed out, I recall having a discussion about 2 Union, which is around the corner, and that whole entryway, which has the multiple signs on several different occasions. I'm wondering if there are master sign plans, even though this is one building. Nikki, are there more than one file number for this building? In other words, could it be possible that 2 Union, for example, is a different file than 0 Main, even though it's the same structure?
I'll have to look into that. It could be different. So if it has a different map and parcel, we would create a separate folder.
Okay, yeah, because that would break the master sign plan up into multiple locations here, but um, it would be nice to have this memorialized. So sign here, we appreciate you helping us with that effort. Hopefully you're able to turn it into some, additional work for yourself if that's something that NIR will support. But we do need to, at least for this location, get the master sign plan figured out. So Nikki, if you would help her with understanding if there are different maps and parcels and what would be included, that would be great.
Yes, that's fine. She could come in, and we'll assist her with that. I can also send her an example of an approved
Yeah,
master.
I've done it before. This has
Oh,
happened
okay.
before. So this is
Perfect.
not new.
Okay.
It's a common thing.
All right, thanks. Okay, so that was discussion on Kevin's motion, which is asking for hold for revisions and master sign plan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Paul. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
Mark
Aye.
and Ben,
Aye.
Kevin. Okay, I as well. Did I go out of order there? I think we've got everybody. Thank you.
Alrighty, thanks.
All right, thanks. Let's move on with our agenda. We are now talking about enforcement. Paul, why don't you start the conversation?
All right. Well, first of all, Nikki, thank you for the spreadsheet you sent a week or two ago. If we could get one for every meeting, that would be great. It was embarrassing this summer, particularly with the number of pop-up signs that have been all over town by multiple organizations. And I'm sure everybody has seen them. I think we need to establish a regulation for those because they go up with no approval, no time frame, no nothing. And some of them are ridiculous. There was one put out there by a local organization for an event that was going to take place at some date, and 2 or 3 weeks later, it was still there. So I picked it up and took it and threw it in their backyard. But, it started with the Whaler Pride signs. No, it didn't. It started with the Surfside, excuse me, whatever that development is on South Shore Road. And they continue to be popping up. They're popping up for wind farms, popping up for everything. So I think that if we had a simple application, excuse me, I think we have to consider they're all temporary signs. If we had a simple application, maybe no fee for the application, but something that the staff could approve with timeframes, sizes, colors, things like that. That's where I think we need to go.
So you're talking about the little lawn, like the sort of metal posted plastic signs.
Couple of wires that stick in the ground there. I don't know if they're less than 12 inches. I don't think so. But they're all over the place.
So there is some difference that we need to make between political signs and whether you call a tipping point message or a wind farm message a political sign or not. Well, I think it could be argued that they are, but I understand what you're saying, especially any commercial event or, county fair and things like that would qualify. But any other board members have thoughts they want to talk about there with respect to how do we address it?
I mean, I'll speak to it, I guess. I think there is this clean distinction in my mind between a political sign and an advertisement. And I've always kind of viewed our role is to regulate the advertisement side of signage. Political signs, I feel like, is a free speech thing. In some weird ways, I find the political signs to be sort of a sign of our moment in time, you know. And if you take a picture of, you know, the Rotary in 2024, you'll see windmill signs. If you took it in 1974, you might see, lock Nixon up or whatever. You know, it almost sets the tone of a historical moment in time. So as much as I think it clutters our roadways, I'm not, I don't take them to be insulting, nor do I feel obligated to make them go away. That's my feel of them.
Mark or Kevin, you guys have any thoughts on this? No? Okay. Well, I think that I agree with you, Ben. And Paul, I know where you're coming from a streetscape point of view, but we have to be careful not to violate any freedom of speech sort of rights. So let's look at that. If there is anything advertising an event, commercial enterprise of those sorts, clearly we need to address those as violations and turn them in. So I thought you were going to be addressing all of the sidewalk signage, and we've seen a lot of those pop-ups this summer as well, just sort of A-frames, and you know, that's something that it's hard to enforce, or by the time we take the picture, sometimes they're gone, but it's annoying when then a week later it's back, you know, and it definitely is something I would love to see addressed either by the DPW or the police department, or, you know, if it's on public property, can it just be removed? I don't know how to address it, and if it proliferates, then downtown becomes, you know, more and more of a Coney Island-esque feel. But that's just something that bothers me personally. So, and Paul, you have sent me several things which I will forward to Nikki. Over break, I got some texts. You know, we're seeing construction signs, and there are freestanding signs popping up that should be addressed, which Nikki, I'll forward over to you shortly. But Nikki, let's give you the floor for enforcement for a moment. Give us an update on what's happening from your perspective.
Well, I have no updates this week, so I think I sent an email to you guys last week. I'm still looking into, I think, a couple more of them that was sent over to me. And I think I'll have to make additional enforcement actions for the other two that I sent in that email, because I haven't heard back from them, and the time frame, the deadline is approaching that I gave them. So that's where we are. And the other two buildings, they removed their signs when I drove by.
Okay, thanks. Did you have a chance to look into the state forest?
That's the one I'm still looking into. I'm trying to get in touch with someone at the office, just, you know, giving them a phone call instead of doing the other approach. So I'm still looking into it. It's a slippery, it's a slippery slope for that one. But I'm trying to give a call as opposed to just going out to send like the actual letter.
Chris, on that note specifically,
Yeah.
did we ever take any action when the freestanding went up on Old South? I don't think we did we? We all talked about it, but I don't think we did anything about it. And that came up, that just showed up.
Right. And I don't know if you've all seen what's happening now, but they've put freestanding signs on Rugged Road, sort of right where the pavement ends and turns into dirt. There's one where the freestanding sign used to be, or actually I think it's now closer to Old South Road and Lovers Lane intersection. There's another one sort of over by Pulpus Road,
Yeah, I saw that
on the right, sort of after like Island Lumber. And so my big fear is, I mean, these are big freestanding signs,
Yeah,
you know,
and
if, you know, the Conservation Foundation and Land Bank and everybody else sees that that's how things are being addressed now, we're going to just have them everywhere.
Right.
And we've put everybody else through the review process and made them conform. So I don't see why the state would be exempt from that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Chris, question?
Yeah, Paul?
Isn't the large one on that started all this on Old South Road gone?
It is.
Is
So they
it?
took one, they, that is gone now. They took the one
Hmm.
down, but they've replaced it with at least 3 that I've seen,
Okay, I missed
which
the
are,
three then. I was
which
happy to
are,
see it was gone.
you know, arguably worse because they're on single posts that with a T
Okay.
and a hanging sign that's pretty big, which doesn't comply in any way with, at least the other one could be argued as a public information sign, perhaps, because it was 2 posts and it was
Yeah.
too big. But anyway, they've kind of gone in a new direction, and it's my fear is the precedent that it's going to set, and if everybody else sees that that's how it's being handled, then
Okay.
yeah,
I agree.
that's a problem. All right, so thanks, Nikki, for helping us out with that. I know it's not fun.
No worries.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a question. How do
Oh.
you categorize the huge sign on Surfside Road where the sewer department is headquartered apparently now in their project? It lists every politician that we know on there, some of whom are no longer in office. I think the town must have put it up, but does everybody know what I'm talking about?
Is this the one that was formerly at the
Yeah.
Miles Reese property?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I find that not only, between the fence itself, which is not really our jurisdiction, but certainly the signage is, I don't think it's one. Yeah, I just take a lot of issue with it. I don't think it's no longer required. I don't know why it's there. I didn't
It
come
doesn't
across-
serve any purpose,
No,
perhaps.
And it's not approvable
no,
if it were.
No, it's not
applicable,
approvable.
correct.
Want me to send you a picture of it, Chris?
so,
You can send
sure.
send it
I'll
to
forward
Leslie?
it. I'll forward it.
Okay, I will.
Nikki, your day's getting better. Okay, I agree with you on that one. Thanks, Paul. All right, any other motions somebody wants to make?
Motion to adjourn.
That's,
Second.
thank you, Paul. Thanks, Mark. Kevin, are you in favor? Ben? Paul?
All right.
Mark?
Aye. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, guys. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye,
Everybody.
everyone.